that is of concern to all of us.
I'm also glad to be joined by Mr. Ahmed Yusal, who is the director of Orzum Center for Middle Eastern Studies in Turkey. Mr. Ahmed, glad to join us. Just as a direct question, how do you explain the meeting was held by the foreign minister of Turkey, gathering the foreign minister of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, as well as the one from Ukraine, Kuleba? Is it that's explained that Turkey is taking a side in this conflict?
Turkey is trying to be neutral in this global conflict, and Turkey has good relations with both sides, both Ukraine and Russia. And as you know, America, Turkey is a NATO ally, but America left us alone in the Syrian conflict, in the region, whatever, in Libya, and in all this. So they forced Turkey to be closer to Russia, but Turkey is still trying to balance between the two sides, not leaning toward one side, but Turkey also rejects the Russian invasion of Ukraine, including Crimea. But at the same time, Turkey wants to end this conflict because this conflict is damaging everyone in the world, with oil prices, with food prices, with migration, whatever. So Turkey has a major interest in solving this crisis or ending this crisis. And Turkey is trusted also by both sides, especially no NATO country can talk to both sides. Now NATO, most of them, the Western countries, are against Russia. Turkey also, as I said, in principle is against the invasion and also land grab. But at the same time, Turkey managed to bring these foreign ministers together, Russian and Ukrainian. Also, Turkey visited both Moscow and Ukraine to keep this mediation going, and it is going. But as we should mention that this crisis is a global crisis and is maybe the beginning of a third world war, and it's going to take time to manage any kind of ceasefire because the expectations are very different. There is a big gap between the two sides. So Turkey is trying to solve this problem, but with a more positive neutrality, rejecting the Russian invasion, but not breaking up with Russia completely. Yes. Like Abramovich, I think he is exempt from these sanctions, but not many of them are coming to Turkey. And also, America advised some of the companies exiting from Russia. They said, you can invest in Turkey, but we know the West also pressured us with economically to keep or attack Turkish lira, but somehow the government managed to stabilize the lira, but it was a big, several times they attacked the Turkish economy. Even Trump said that before. So it is not a new story. Now they are focusing on Russia, and they kind of take it easy on Turkey because they need everybody. Both sides. Russia needs Turkey, and the West also needs Turkey because Turkey is a critical country in a critical juncture. So nobody wants to lose Turkey, and it is more within the regulation. If somebody, Turkey of course didn't follow the Western embargo, but if things get worse, maybe in Ukraine, probably the pressure will be increased on Turkey to put more sanctions also. But right now, Turkey just follows the UN sanctions, not not the EU sanctions, and also Turkey is. Try to recover from the old economic crisis, but Turkey doesn't. In terms of wheat and food, Turkey doesn't depend on Russian exports, and Turkey doesn't import too much from Russia. Actually, it exports to Russia with some tomatoes, vegetables, etc. So Turkey can be better. I mean, Turkey can manage itself in terms of food, but of course, there's a general shortage in the global market where Russia and Ukraine are big producers. So it can influence overall market, but Turkey is not going to be affected as much as non-oil countries, let's say in the Middle East, for example, Egypt or Tunisia, they don't have.
Quite understood, Mr. Ahmed.
Yes.
Mr.
So Turkey is
you are in Iraq. Coming to you, Mr. Ahmed, Europe's life now has changed. Governments and people all over the continent are looking for an alternative sources for their incomes and work relations away from the Russian ones. So how can you find an alternative taking into consideration that Russia owns the largest oil and gas reserves in the world, not only in Europe?
Yes, it is not. I mean, Russia is a source, but as you remember, America and oil and gas lobbies, in a way, they don't want to produce all of the oil at the same time. So you see conflict in some areas like Libya. It is stopped for a while, and you have embargo on Venezuela. And this is a mixed policy. But they have also discovered oil in many other places like Mozambique and gas, or Iran was not allowed to produce much gas, for example, and export its oil. So there are sources, but it's a matter of policy decision that's made by the major consumer, which is the West. They are the major consumers for natural gas and oil around the world. So they can mix it up. They can stop Russian flow of Russian oil and gas. Now focus on Iran, Algeria, Qatar may be another option, or Latin American countries, or even other African countries. So there is option, but logistics is the main problem. It takes time to build, pipelines, or the LNG, or the transportation of these big amounts of oil and gas or new routes.
Sorry to cut your train of thought, Mr. Ahmed, but since you say that Qatar, Algeria could manage to be an alternative source for other countries, it means that they may take a side in this war. And will that be beneficial for these countries?
If they take a side with Russia, I don't think it's going to help them. I think to be neutral is better. Also, Russia is not, as a political analysis, also political sociology and international relations. Russia does not offer anything new that the West doesn't offer, or is not better than. They don't have a strong economy. They don't have consumer electronics, for example. They have mostly oil and gas and arms sales and some wheat and barley type of exports, but they don't have a full-fledged economy. Russia is not like China or is not like America. So Russia has a limited chance to offer a complete alternative to the West. So, these countries like Algeria, we need, European products, Turkish products, Chinese. You cannot just depend on Russia. Not, only Algeria, but other Arab countries. Sometimes I listen to African brothers and sisters. They see Russia as an alternative. Russia doesn't have a complete economy. They did not recover from this communist type of economy until now. So even under pressure now, even if they had one, now it's going to be destroyed with these sanctions, because even for China, the West, Europe, and America are the major importers or major buyers. So if they don't buy, they cannot compensate. So it's better to stay neutral and to be an alternative. Like Iran is trying to do the same now, even though they had good relations with Russia and China, but they will be selling more oil and gas, and they'll be signing the nuclear deal soon. So the alternative always helps. Yes.
At an extraordinary summit, Mr. Ahmed, it is said that Erdogan will play a significant role ending up this war or the military operation, as it is said, by an agreement of peace, as he always has done during his career as a politician. He is called a winner whenever he walks.
He is, of course, he's an active politician. He's always following up the files. Even with NATO, I see the picture of NATO. He has good communication with the NATO leaders, and unlike Boris Johnson in the picture, he stayed alone. You know, he didn't interact with the other people, other leaders. I mean, just one example. He always worked hard to maintain the interest and also relations with different countries, and this is the advantage because Turkey at the crossroads is located at the crossroads between Asia, Europe, and Africa, also in between the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. So this requires an active foreign policy, and this also maybe in the short run, maybe Turkey is going to be affected a little bit with economically, but in the long run, I think Turkey will have a strong say or more say in the current files in the international affairs, and already have say in Libya, in many of the files with NATO, with Ukraine crisis. So this is a result of internal strength, even though economy is shaken, but still a major exporting country, major industrial country, Turkey is, and it's going to have more major role in the future also. So it is not surprising.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ahmed. Mr. Ahmed, same thing for you. You are living in Ukraine. Turkey is among the European countries. How this military operation will affect Europe in general?
It is going to affect, but don't forget that Russia is now fighting against. Russia is one of the four superpowers: America, Europe, China, and Russia. Russia is the weakest, and now Russia is not fighting with the Ukraine only. Is also fighting against America and Europe. Of course, Europe is going to be affected, but both of them together, I think Russia has very few chance to succeed. Also, up against the hill inside Ukraine and against also the West. So, I mean, the things will be affected, but I think they have a major power to teach Russia a lesson, because they don't want this to repeat in the future. I mean, remember, Soviet Empire reached all the way to Germany, and they even divided Germany. Now Russia wants to come back, and of course the Europeans and Americans are pushing Russia back, and this will be a long struggle. It's not going to end soon, and it's going to be very, very cruel also, very violent.
Understood.
But wish the best. I mean, we are tired of the wars in the Middle East, and we don't want, of course, no more wars around the world.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. To this end, ladies and gentlemen, our panel of guests, Mr. McLean, Mr. Urchi, and Mr. Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us in this special coverage. A special coverage will be held also tomorrow and for the coming days, as well as the news bulletin will always talks about the Ukraine situation in